Hello, my name is Eric Prosher and I represent Jesse Brown VA Medical Center, and I have a special guest today, a co-worker, and his name is Mark Galhan, and he also works at Jesse Brown VA Medical Center. And today he's going to share with us over the next 25 minutes his experience with whole health practices and in the VA. So tune in over the next 25 minutes and learn about some of the whole health initiatives that are going on at the VA near you. So welcome, Mark. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's been a long time.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. So it's good to be back. Good to be back.
Excellent. So whole health. Tell me a little bit about what whole health is and what your role is in relationship to whole health.
Yeah, so Whole Health is a new program that the VA has kind of been rolling out over the last couple of years. What it is it's kind of a new way of looking at health and well-being. Traditionally, especially within the United States, we tend to be kind of more of a medical model, right? Where we, as providers, we tend to focus on the diagnosis, we focus on the problem, and then a cure, exactly, and symptoms. So whole health, the idea of whole health is it kind of wants to flip that on its head and say, first and foremost, what's most important to the patient, right? You know, from the patient's perspective, what do they want to work on? And whole health really complements patient-centered care, which is one of the things that the VA is really great at doing, is creating a treatment team around the veteran. And so whole health is one part of that patient-centered care. So within whole health, you know, the idea is that the veteran would meet with their provider, and instead of the provider looking at them as a diagnosis, like, for example, let's say you met with your provider and they were like, Eric, you're coming in to see me about your diabetes. I noticed that your A1C is elevated. Right. We really need to do something to get that down. You know, you have to lose some weight. You have to stop eating all those sugars. But the problem is that might not work within your life, right? And so whole health looks to see what are the other variables that kind of impact one's ability to commit to their treatment and well-being.
Yeah, that's interesting because I had a case several years ago. I'm a psychologist and work in a PTSD clinic, and I had a veteran that came to me, and normally like we do a evaluation, we get a list of their symptoms, and you know then there's these supposed these evidence-based treatments that target the symptoms. And this guy was really struggling, and when I asked him, you know, so how has these symptoms impacted his life, or what if he didn't have PTSD, what would be different in his life? He talked about that his biggest concern was that he was failing a math course. And he couldn't concentrate because he had these intrusive thoughts and memories that would interfere. And so that kind of really changed the whole approach. I'm like, well, let's get him connected to resources that will help him pass this class. Let's get him some extra tutoring. Let's teach him, learn how to do some mindfulness meditation so he can concentrate in the moment and not be distracted by the past or the future. So is that kind of what you're talking about?
Absolutely. And as a social worker, the part about whole health that I really enjoy is we do kind of take a look at that environment and kind of take a look at what's going on with the larger picture, right? Because all the time we'll say, as a provider, you know, you might say, well, you just need to stop drinking alcohol, right? Well, the patient probably already knows that they need to stop drinking alcohol. But the question is how can we help them stop drinking alcohol? And that's why, and I'm sure you do this as well, one of the first sessions that we do is just a little bit about talking about what matters most to the patient. What are their values? What is their mission and purpose? Because it's those values that are going to kind of drive change. And I think you see that with your patients as well.
Yeah. It becomes the motivation, right? If it's not important to you, then why would you participate in it?
Yeah, and absolutely. And when I work with patients, lots of times they'll tell me, well, they have grandkids, right? And they want to try and live as long as they can so they can spend more time with their grandkids. Or sometimes they'll say, well, I have a wife or a husband, and I want to be around as long as I can because I love her or him and I really care about them. And it's those values that when we do create the goals and work on those goals, when people are struggling or they're running into barriers, it's those values that are going to kind of continue to promote that change.
Okay. So in this whole health approach, is there, I hear it's holistic, and are there specific pathways that are, or components of it as a whole health practitioner?
Yeah. So that's a great question. And what we're going to try and do, hopefully it will work, I brought in a little diagram that I think will kind of better explain the whole health model. So the idea of whole health is that at the very center is the patient, right? It's you. You are the center of your change. And that's why at the center of the circle you'll see me. Because at the end of the day, you're a person, not a patient. You're a human being, not a diagnosis. And so you are at the center of your care. Kind of like where we always say, like, the patient is the expert, right? Right? They know what's going to work best for them. Surrounding the me circle is this idea of mindful awareness. And so actually, I know that you've been doing mindfulness for years and years and years with your patients.
Yes.
And maybe you could probably explain mindfulness better than I can.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Mindfulness is, it comes out of a meditation tradition, and it's been studied in many different contexts to address a variety of issues, whether it's smoking cessation or depression. But mindfulness is essentially 4 components make something mindful. So it's not just a meditation. We can be mindful about the way we walk or mindful about the way we breathe. So the 4 components include, first, there is it's an intentional practice. So you have an intention in mind. Second is you use your attention. You have to control your attention. So if your attention is other than how you control it is you want to bring your attention to the 3rd component, which is being in the moment, the here and now. Being present is a big piece of it. And the 4th component of what makes anything mindful is a stance of non-judgment, not being judging. So I don't know if you've ever tried to meditate before, but it can be very difficult in the sense that sometimes our mind goes to places that we have no control over, and then all of us want to be good meditators or good students, and we get hard on ourselves. We're like, oh, I can't do this right, and that kind of judgment kind of interferes and creates further kind of mental stress. So the idea that you don't judge yourself, you notice where your mind goes, and you just bring it back, your attention back to the moment, bring it back to your intention of being in the moment. So these are 4 components of mindfulness.
Yeah, and mindfulness and mindful awareness is something that we really like to focus on in whole health. It's valuable in the sense that it helps people stay in the moment, kind of like how you were saying. One of the questions that I actually had proposed to me today within the group was what's the difference between meditation and just sleeping? Like, am I still not at a relaxed state when I'm sleeping? Like, can't I just sleep and still get the same benefits?
And what was your answer?
What was my answer to that? Well, my answer was is that it was purposeful awareness, right? So when we're sleeping, even though we may be in a relaxed state, we're not aware of what's going on around us, right? People may be moving around. We're not conscious of the sounds or the noises.
The intention and attention piece are not there.
Right.
It's automatic function.
Yeah, and so within the group, when we meet with people, we will engage in certain mindful activities. Sometimes we'll do a little visual or guided meditation. Sometimes we'll do sometimes we'll do mindfulness eating, where we actually kind of just taste the foods that we're eating. Lots of times we just kind of tend to gobble it all down.
Yeah. You mentioned you do a group, so let's back step a
Sure.
little. Let's take a couple steps back. So I assume that if someone is interested in this whole health practice, there are activities and ways to get connected, and this group is one of them?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so tell us a little bit about your introduction to whole health group.
So there's a 6-week group. Well, actually, there's a lot of different groups, and maybe what we'll do is, as I'm talking, we'll put the number for the contact information
Yes.
for Whole Health down.
Perfect.
And so, for anybody who is interested in the Whole Health program, you can see on your screen. So there's a Whole Health hotline. So just call that number 312-569-5395. And then if you get a voicemail, just leave a message just indicating that you are interested in Whole Health. And then a provider will contact you, schedule you for a group. The group that I do, so it's a 6-week group. It's I guess it's a hybrid between an open and a closed group, because there is kind of a curriculum that we follow from week 1 all the way to week 6. And so in week 1, it's more just kind of an introduction, right? We explain what Whole Health is, we explain what mindfulness is, we explain how the program can help a veteran achieve their goals. And then as we continue to meet, we get a little bit deeper into the Whole Health process. So the next time we meet, we'll talk a little bit about their values, what's important to them, what gives them that sense of mission and purpose. And then from there, we give them a little, I don't know, it's like a little inventory. It talks a little bit about, the inventory looks at, and if we can go back to that diagram again, the inventory talks a little bit about the different circles of Whole Health. So you'll notice that there's different circles around the mindfulness, and it's the area in green. So there's working the body, there's surroundings, personal development, food and drink, recharge, spirit and soul, power of the mind, and family, friends, and coworkers. What we do is when we're working with veterans doing these kind of inventories, they'll kind of rate themselves with where they're at in that specific inventory. So for example, like working the body. Working the body talks a little bit about like energy and flexibility and just kind of exercise. So a veteran might rate themselves as to where they are now and then where they would like to be moving forward. When we've kind of done all of those, when we've done all of those circles, then we ask the veteran, you know, which area kind of sticks out to you the most? You know, which area either had the biggest difference between, you know, where they're at now and where they would like to be, or which area for them stuck out in terms of something that they really want to focus on. Now you'll notice that the circles, they're not diabetes, it's not weight loss, it's not, oh, I don't know, give me another ailment. Mental health,
Depression.
Depression.
Yeah.
So you'll notice that the circles are intentionally not diagnostic.
Right.
Because again, it's about what are we looking at larger picture. You know, so it's a more holistic approach to change.
Right. And it looks like, so prevention is a part of this, and then there's also complementary alternative medicine. And then up there, it looks like community is important, being aware of the community and how that impacts your health.
Absolutely. So with the prevention and treatment, we really want people to work with their primary care providers with this. We want their primary care providers to know what their goals are. And it kind of goes back to that patient-centered care where we want the veteran to have a treatment team around them. So for example, let's say I'm someone who's struggling with multiple sclerosis, right? As a patient, you know, or as a provider, you may say, okay, well, Mark, you know, you really need to take your meds. You got to stay active. You can't just, you know, be sedentary all the time. Even though I'm telling the doctor it's hard for me to move around, or my back hurts and I'm uncomfortable, you know, we want the doctor to look at us in a way where our goal might be working the body. And maybe within that developmental area, all I want to do is maybe just be on the treadmill for 30 minutes a day for 2 times a week. And that's where I want to start. And that's what we want the provider to focus on. Because if I can do that, then there's all these great secondary gains to it, right? Like I'm moving around, maybe my muscles are a little bit more flexible. And so we want the provider to look at the patient as a series of achievable goals, not a diagnosis.
That's right.
And so.
Wow, that sounds like a very powerful approach. Now, is there anything that we can illustrate how this works?
Yeah. So there's a couple videos. One of the videos that we'll show focuses on recharge, rest, and sleep. It's one of the circles that someone might create a goal in. So let's show that video.
Okay.
We offer a sleep menu to veterans, and we offer them items that we can give them in real time. These were a CD player, a warm blanket, aromatherapy. Now I think it's a great idea.
Okay, how about the boombox here?
Right there. Just ask for a CD. We'll bring it to
You
you.
know, I can put my own CD in here?
Yes, you can.
Oh, this is real nice. Look. Oh, I like this. It's done wonders for me. Let me tell you, this is the best thing that ever happened to me since I've been here. When I first got here, I had trouble sleeping at night, and I was like, wow, because this is the first time I ever seen this in a hospital, you know? So this was like a great thing to me. No better care than the VA. When I got here, I felt wanted. I didn't have any pressure on me, and the nurses were around the clock, always making sure that I was taken care of all the time.
Just providing them a choice is amazing, and that's truly what patient-centered care, veteran-centered care is about.
So one of the things that I really like about that video is it kind of shows the relationship between the veteran and the provider. And so sometimes when I'm working with veterans, they'll say, well, I want to sleep better at night. I can't sleep. And I think as a mental health provider, you probably get that kind of that symptom a lot.
I think that's the number one complaint among our newest post 9/11 veterans, is sleep. For
Yeah.
a variety of reasons. Some have sleep apnea, some have PTSD, others depression, some just have bad schedules and work and have poor habits.
Yeah, and I think traditionally in the past we might provide like medication or sleep aids or things like that, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, whole health says, well, let's take another look at maybe what we can do. And so when I'm working with a patient, I'll say, all right, so you want to sleep better, and then we'll create a goal around sleeping, and that's kind of where we get into those SMART goals. So, and for those of you who aren't familiar with SMART goals, SMART is just kind of an acronym. What it does is it helps us create a very specific, achievable, and realistic goal. And actually, that's kind of some of the acronyms. You know, the S stands for specific. The M is for measurable. The A is for?
Achievable.
There you go, yep. R is realistic, and then time is just, well, the T is for time. And so when I'm working with patients, we go through that kind of acronym, because I want to sleep better, like what does that mean?
Yeah, so give me an example. Like, I have a interrupted sleep. I try to go to bed at 10 o'clock every night, but I stay up for a couple hours, go to sleep, and then I wake up at 3 o'clock and I'm up for the rest of the night. Mm-hmm. So what kind of a SMART goal would I achieve for that?
So the first thing we would do is just kind of run it through that acronym. And so with the specific, I might say, okay, specifically, what do you want the goal to be? And so
8 hours a night.
8 hours a night, perfect. And then with the M, I might say, well, how are we going to measure 8 hours? Like, are you going to go to bed every night at 10 o'clock? And are you going to wake up at 6 every day? How are we going to measure our progress? How will we know where that finish line is at?
Yeah, so I guess that would involve some discussion, because even though I go to bed at 10, I'm not falling asleep, so I'd probably have to keep track of like when I fell asleep and then when I would wake up, or how much time I spent sleeping. So that require me keeping some type of journal, I guess.
Yeah. Or like kind of measuring how much you've slept throughout the night. So maybe 8 hours is the goal, but maybe in the beginning you're only sleeping 6 hours, right? And then, so you're kind of tracking that progress. Measurement is key because measurement really allows us to not only see the progress we made, but also it also tells us where the finish line is at too. And I think as providers, oftentimes people lose sight of the progress that they've made. They'll be like, I'm not getting any better.
Yeah.
But really they have, but they're just not seeing it.
Yes, that's very common.
Yeah, and so the A looks at attainable or achievable. For example, I've worked with patients and one of their goals will be weight loss, right? And they'll say, well, I want to lose 30 pounds in the next month. I admire the desire to do that, but at the same time, is that something that's attainable, right? And which kind of goes into the realistic piece. Is the goal realistic? In addition, when we look at the realistic piece, we also look at, is this even the right time for this goal, right? So you may want to sleep 8 hours a night, but maybe you're going to grad school, or maybe you have to have a part-time job, right?
I gotta wake up and take my kids to daycare.
Right.
So
a lot of the goal a lot of creating the goal just looks at, is this really the right time for the goal? And if it's not, then that's great. Then we'll teach you the skills for when you're ready, then you can begin that journey. And then the time piece is just, what time are we looking at, right? So do we want this goal to be in like 1 week, 1 month, 1 year?
With sleep, you need about 6 to 8 weeks to be able to see difference, So you would probably, if someone came in and says, I want to be able to do this by next week, it's probably not really realistic.
Right. And so we start to talk about goals in usually session 2 or 3, because then what happens is as we move through the sessions, then we talk a little bit about the barriers that are coming up. So maybe you weren't able to meet your objectives on that week. So we talk a little about like, well, Eric, what happened?
Well, I got this little puppy and she cannot hold her bladder. She keeps me up all night.
So
Louise.
Right, and that's where the group format can be really powerful, right? Because you're amongst your peers. Your peers are going through the same struggles that you are. And what's nice is not only do you have that layer of support, but you're also kind of getting some feedback as to what you might do or change. And that's where the group process can be very powerful. Cool. So, yeah, so.
You mentioned you had another video. Was there?
Oh, yeah, we got so caught up into talking about whole health. So the video is actually an introduction to whole health.
Okay.
But I feel like
it might be a nice refresher summary.
Yeah, we could show the video. It's about 3 minutes long. It will actually probably explain whole health way better than I did, and more concisely. It won't take 22 minutes. So yeah, let's show that video. Go the other way. Yep, there it is.
This is it?
Oh no, don't listen to it. Yeah, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Oops.
I come to the VA each day with a purpose. I think the most important thing that a veteran needs to know is that the VA care, and that you have other veterans who care also.
The VA has created such an environment that feels safe, that feels structured, that feels caring. I'm not apprehensive. The trust, the barriers have been broken down a little bit.
And I would encourage you, as we empower each other, to share our experience, veterans teaching veterans. That's how we survived on the battlefield. Taking charge of my life and health is a course that the VA designed to give the veterans an opportunity to take charge back of their health care.
The programs are catered for us to help us, for veterans to help veterans, veterans to educate veterans, and provide opportunities that didn't exist before, to break you out of your shell, to get you off the couch, to get you to not feel like you're alone in the world. You have to relate to people. You have to have community. You have to serve others who serve you.
All right, well, we have a new face in the crowd today. Miss Tina, please say hi to Tina.
Hi, Tina. Through art, through creativity, through education and knowledge, and sharing our stories and bonding and connecting, we could expand out and do fun things together and experience life. This is my willow tree with my Toy Story blue sky. You need those as much as you need the tree to help those rough days. When you see something beautiful, you can kind of relax a little bit. So that's my willow tree. And thank you for this experience. I really appreciate it.
And you're going to find that what really matters most to you, that question is going to be asked. And you're going to be able to take charge of your health with your physician helping you to reach your goals. Not their goals, but your goals and your goals in life.
People actually look at me. They listen to me. They take the time. I have timely appointments. If my appointment starts at this time, I am seen at this time.
To have a personalized health plan, something to navigate you through things that matters most in your life, and setting smart goals that centers on what matters most to you.
And seeing the growth and the care that whole health brings, you're going to realize things about yourself that you never thought you were okay to explore before, and you'll be happier and healthier at the end of it.
Wow. So I think you did a pretty good job of explaining that, you know. 'Cause
Well, thank you.
I really complimented the video because I think just the video alone kind of, it's such a multifaceted component. It doesn't necessarily get across all the different,
Yeah. I like to think that the video
Concepts.
complements me,
Yeah.
not the other way around.
Okay.
So for anybody who's interested in the whole health program, please give us a call at the Jesse Brown VA. The number is 312-569-5395. So there it is, 312-569-5395. So give us a call, and we'll get you started in the whole health program.
great. And for those of you that have just joined us at home, we're talking about whole health, or represent Jesse Brown VA Medical Center. And if you need some appointments or VA care, you can call these numbers. We're located 820 South Damon Avenue. And
One of the things I wanted to do, I love the show and I watch your show all the time. One of the things I've seen you start doing lately is this, what do you call it? Like quick questions?
rapid fire?
Rapid fire. It really got me thinking. As a host, you never get the opportunity to answer those questions. So what I wanted to do for the last couple minutes is I have some rapid fire questions for you.
You do?
Yep.
Oh no. Uh-oh.
So-
Okay.
All right, so again, don't think too much about it, just whatever pops into your head. So, currently, what's your favorite song?
My favorite song. I'm not a big music person, but
Katy Perry?
pass.
Pass? All right. If you could be any animal in the world, what animal would you be?
I would be a snake.
A snake?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're very flexible and maneuverable. They can move around the world and
Good.
explore in a variety of environments.
What would your autobiography be called?
It's funny. The first things that come to your mind, you have to edit out there. I would say commitment.
Commitment? Mm-hmm. If you could steal a piece of art, last question, if you could steal a piece of art, what would you take?
The Mona Lisa.
Ah, very good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. We represent Jesse Brown VA Medical Center. This is Mark Galhan. My name is Eric Prosher. Come learn about us next month, fourth Thursday of every month, Veterans Issues. Goodbye for now.
Bye.